Alright, guys, I don't even want to do an intro. I just want to get straight into it. I just finished watching El Camino on Netflix. It's like 4:05 in the morning. I literally watched it from when it first released to about a couple minutes ago, so literally right now. And wow. Honestly, I kind of want to do a little recap and then just give my thoughts on it. And honestly, I can't describe this as anything more than like just a fan service to anybody who's ever watched Breaking Bad or anybody who likes the show. So, the very first shot isn't actually Jesse escaping. It's him talking to Mike, and from what it looks like, it seems like their conversation. It wasn't actually in the show. It's just something they filmed for the movie, but it takes place in the timeline of the show. It looks like maybe near like right before Mike dies at the very beginning of season 5. And there was two of these specific scenes in general, and the other one, which I'll get into later, is like basically like the big reveal of the entire movie. I mean, I wouldn't really say it's the climax, or maybe you could consider it the second flashback scene, well, the main flashback scene. So yeah, the first one is him talking to Mike shortly before I think Mike dies at the beginning of season 5, and then out of nowhere the scene cuts and it's Jesse immediately like driving the El Camino away from the meth lab. And honestly, whenever the scene cut to that, it kind of threw me off guard a little bit. Like, not like in a what I was expecting kind of way. It kind of startled me. Like, if I'm being honest, the way the scene cut, I really wasn't expecting that. I mean, I knew they would pick up exactly where the finale left off, but I really didn't expect it to be like that instant. Like, it was literally him, like, still screaming after the last showed him in the finale, and I really did not expect that. I mean, it was nice, and that's another thing is the first 10 minutes of this movie, it's just like so gripping. Like, it just doesn't feel real. Like, it doesn't actually feel like you're watching an actual continuation of the show from when the finale left off. Like, it did not feel real to me, like that I was actually watching it, and so that was a nice feel too. It literally like I can't like stress this. It literally feels like you're watching like the next episode in the show for like how well they kept up the continuity with the where the show actually ended and where the movie actually begins. So yeah, the first scene is Jesse talking to Mike, and then it cuts to him in El Camino, and then he drives to Skinny Pete's house where Badger is there, and they were like playing video games or something. I'm pretty sure. And then Jesse showed up, and then they did. Skinny Pete entered the door, and he didn't really recognize Jesse at first. And then Jesse looks up at him, and it's the same shot from the trailer, like the creepy shot. And honestly, when I saw that shot from the trailer, it kind of scared me a little bit. Like, Jesse was pretty freaky looking. I'm not even gonna lie. Kind of scared me a little bit. And yeah, that same shot from the trailer is in the movie whenever Jesse looks at Skinny Pete for the first time. And so they bring him inside. And he doesn't really talk much. Jesse doesn't really say anything. I mean, obviously he's still stressed out about whenever, not stressed out, but he's clearly showing signs of PTSD after, he was held captive. And then they give him a fresh pair of clothes, and then they let him take a shower. And then Badger asks him if they really kept Jesse in the cage, and then Jesse doesn't really answer him. And so it's clear that, like, what Jesse went through at the meth lab really like scarred him. I'm pretty sure it would scar anybody if you got chained to a cage and they kept you in a cage and you had to cook meth against your will. Pretty sure that would affect anybody. I don't know. That's just me. And so Skinny Pete tells Jesse not to cut his hair and shave his crazy beard, but he totally ignores him and does it anyway. And he looks just like he does in the show. And so yeah, and then Jesse is kind of freaking out a little bit because he still has the El Camino, which is Todd's El Camino, which is something I kind of forgot about. I didn't really watch the last episode of the show, but the El Camino, where the title of the movie comes from, actually the El Camino that Jesse is driving is the one that belongs to Todd, and I didn't get that. And honestly, speaking of that, Todd plays a huge role in this movie, and I didn't even know he was going to be in the movie. I knew Skinny Pete was going to be in it. I knew Badger was going to be in it. I knew Mike was going to be in it. Obviously, we all know Jesse was going to be in it, but I had no idea that Todd would actually be in the movie. And that's another thing I want to talk about. I'm not fat shaming anybody, but Todd, the actor who plays Todd, he looks a little chunky in the movie. And This is a kind of a nitpicky thing, but it kind of took me a little bit out of the movie because in the TV show he was, he was kind of skinny. He wasn't like skinny, but he was definitely not the way he looks in the movie. That I'm not fat shaming, but that kind of took me out of the movie a little bit, and maybe they could have told him to lose a little weight. I don't know. Maybe I'm being kind of a dick, but yeah. So what's it called? Jesse is freaking out because he has the El Camino, and obviously they're gonna be looking for the El Camino. And so Jesse calls Joe, which is the guy that owns the junkyard, which they use to crush the RV in the TV show. And then Joe shows up, and then Jesse offers to pay him, but he says it's on the house because, Jesse and Walt gave him business, whatever. And so yada, 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 whatever. And then Joe goes up to El Camino and has this little scanny thing on it. I don't know what it is, but Joe freaks out because the sensor that he's using on the El Camino, it lets him know that the car has a kind of like a tracking system. I think it's called LoJack. I'm not really familiar with it. I never heard of it before I saw it in this movie, but basically either the DEA or whatever, whoever's investigating the Walt and Jesse's case, whenever they got to the meth lab or whatever, I guess I don't even know how they knew to track the El Camino immediately because, it was Todd's, and obviously they found Todd's dead body in the meth lab when, Jesse strangled him to death, which was by far one of my favorite scenes in the show. I know I'm kind of a psychopath, but I mean, that was really satisfying. So they activate the LoJack thing on the car, basically and then Joe basically tells Jesse that he needs to get out of there because, oh God, I can't even speak. Because the authorities are coming because they tracked the El Camino with the LoJack thing. Again, I'm not familiar with it. I don't know, but basically Joe tells him to get the F out of there because the cops are going to show up any second. So Jesse wants to ditch in the El Camino, but Skinny Pete tells him to take Badger's car, and then Badger will take Skinny Pete's car, and then they'll all split up. And then when the authorities get there, that Skinny Pete will basically hold it down for Jesse, and then, just say that he's going to tell the DEA that Jesse came by, and then they smoked a couple bowls, and then Jesse took off. And then, so that's when the teaser shot, which actually isn't in the movie, I guess comes into play with the timeline of whenever Skinny Pete's getting interviewed, and he's talking about Jesse. That's basically where it comes in the movie. I'm guessing if they were going to add it in the movie, it'd be the scene directly after that, but they cut it from the movie for some reason. I guess they kept it from an exclusive teaser trailer. I don't know. So Jesse drives away from Skinny Pete's house, and then he goes to Todd's apartment, and then he has a flashback with Todd. Again, kind of blew me away that Todd was in the movie so much. I didn't even know he was going to be in the movie, but he played such a heavy role in it that I really did not expect it. Jesse has a flashback when he was held captive in the meth lab, and then Todd, everyone's gone. Uncle Jack isn't there, none of the Nazis are there. It's just Todd and Jesse, and Todd tells Jesse that he needs his help with something, so he gets Jesse out of the cage, and then he drives Jesse to his apartment, and then everything's all normal. You just think that Todd needs help lifting some stuff, maybe tells Jesse that they might paint some things. And then Jesse goes into the kitchen and finds Todd's cleaning lady who's dead, and she has a belt around her neck like Todd killed her. And Jesse kind of freaks out a little bit, asks Todd why he killed her, and Todd tells her that she found his stash of money. And so Todd basically tells Jesse that, or he implies that he needs to find a new place for his money. And that's just the end of the flashback for now. And so when it goes back to the present, Jesse is in Todd's apartment, and he's looking for the money. He's looking for the stash of money because he needs the money to flee. He needs the money to, what's his name? Ed, the vacuum guy, the guy that gives people new identities. He needs to get money to pay him so he can take Jesse to, oh my God, I'm sorry, fresh start. So Jesse looks around forever. He finally finds Todd's money, which is in his fridge for some reason. It's inside his fridge door, not literally in the fridge, but it's part of the fridge door, I can't explain it. You have to see the movie, whatever. You probably already seen it, whatever. So Jesse finds the money, but as he does, he sees two silhouettes in the window coming towards him, and so he freaks out. He's only able to get a couple sacks in his pocket before he goes and hides. Two cops come in, and then they're looking everywhere, and then Jesse runs and hides into a different room, and then one of the cops finds Jesse, and then Jesse points his gun at him and tells him, "I'm not a cop killer, I don't want to kill you," yada yada, all that. And so Jesse tells the cop that he has a gunpoint to tell the other cop to come in. So the other cop suspects something's up and raises his gun before he goes in there. And then whenever they come face to face with Todd using the cop that he held as a human shield and the other cop just staring right at him, and they have like a little standoff or whatever, the cop recognizes Jesse, but the cop, this cop that Jesse's having a standoff with wasn't actually in the show, so it's not really explained how they know each other yet. But then Jesse eventually surrenders to them, still thinking they're actual cops, which I'm sorry, they're not. Spoiler alert. And they get Jesse to the ground. They start to zip tie him, and then Jesse tells them, well, he figures out that they're not actually cops. They're just there for the money. They knew that Todd had money in his apartment, and so Jesse tells them that he knows where the money is, and they stop trying to kidnap him or whatever. I don't know. And so Jesse takes a third of the money from the guys, and then they all split all what's called. They just go their separate ways, and that scene honestly was one of the most intense because I had no idea that those two guys weren't actually cops. I thought that literally Jesse on the Run was about to end right there in the first like 30 minutes of the movie with these two cops, and I was like, okay, like, because I had no idea where this movie was gonna go. I thought that it would be Jesse on the run, and then he would, get a new identity, go somewhere, which is exactly what happened. But at this point, like 20, 30 minutes into the movie, I had no idea where they were going with it. I thought maybe that at this time, whenever I saw this, that the two cops would, or they're not cops, but whatever, these two guys would have taken Jesse into custody, and then that would have been the whole movie, is him testifying or all that and trying to build a case and all that. I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid, but that's where I thought the movie was going to go until it was revealed they weren't really cops. They were just there for the money, which Jesse gave to them, and they let him go. And so as Jesse's taking off, the guy that he had a standoff with, which he eventually broke a deal with to get a third of Todd's money, he looks at his van, and it's a welding company. And then Jesse has a flashback to whenever he was in prison and in the meth lab, and basically the chains that he was held to and the pulley system was installed by that guy's company, the welding company. And so that comes into play later in the movie, and you just think that's it. That's like some random detail, but it comes into play later in the movie. And so Jesse leaves from Todd's house, and then, God, I forgot what happens after that. Oh my God, I'm trying to refresh my memory. Okay, yeah, no. Okay, so as I was saying, Ed the vacuum guy, the one who gave Walt a new identity at the end of Breaking Bad, Jesse goes to see him, and Jesse has $125,000 in cash, which is the exact amount that, it's the amount that you need to pay this guy so that he can give you a brand new identity and a brand new life. But since during the events of Breaking Bad, Jesse tried to use the same guy to get a new identity, but Jesse bailed when the guy showed up. And so the guy didn't forget this, and so he tells Jesse that he owes him a one-time fee plus another one. I mean, the first-time fee is for, I don't know, I'm doing a horrible job at explaining this, but basically he tells Jesse that he needs to pay him twice because he blew him off that one time. So Jesse, all the money in the bag Jesse uses, but he's $10,000 short. And then he pulls out the original money that he took from his pockets before the cops came into Todd's apartment. And then it turns out he's $1,800 shy. So Jesse, when he leaves from this guy, what's it called? Okay, so the guy calls the cops on him. The guy calls the cops on Jesse as a way to get Jesse out of there, because this guy, even though he's $1,800 short, like a measly $1,800, this guy is like, he stands by his rule that he will not take like any, he doesn't do any freebies or whatever. And especially because Jesse blew him off. So he calls the cops on Jesse as a way to get Jesse to get out of there. Jesse calls him back again and tells him that he'll get him the money. And then Jesse goes back to his parents' house, but he doesn't actually go there. He's down the block. And then he calls his parents and basically tells them that he's at the park, that they took him when he was a child. And then he asked them to come pick him up. And so Jesse, like, knowing that there's cops outside of the house and that they were waiting on a phone call from Jesse to his parents storm out of the house to go get him. And then a bunch of these cop cars tail them as a way to capture Jesse. And so Jesse knows this. He goes around the side of the house. And well, what I thought Jesse was going into his parents' house to get money that they had stashed away. But really, he goes into his parents' safe, and he gets the two guns in there. One of them is like this old like World War II type gun, and the other one's like a revolver. And so he goes back to the welding company, which is the people who imprisoned, well, not the people who imprisoned him, but the people who built the chains and the pulley that imprisoned him during Breaking Bad. And he asked the guy, the quote unquote cop that he had a standoff with, if he could have $18. He's not going there to harm anybody. He doesn't want to kill anybody. He just wants 18 grand. Not 18 grand, $1,800. That's all he wants. And then, they'll never cross paths again. And so this is honestly my favorite part of the entire movie right here. The guy offers Jesse, well, he challenges Jesse to a duel, seeing that Jesse has like this old World War II gun, and he doesn't know that Jesse has a revolver in his jacket pocket. So he challenges him to a duel. Jesse's like, fine, okay. Yeah, by far my favorite part of the movie. They get ready for like this like old school like Western duel. And then whenever the guy draws for his gun, Jesse already has his hand in his pockets, and he just like, with the revolver, because this guy challenged him to a duel thinking that he had this like awful World War II pistol and he would for sure beat him. Didn't know that Jesse had a revolver in his pocket. Jesse blows him away, which that was my favorite part of the whole movie right there. And then the other quote unquote fake cop, grabs for a gun, and then Jesse picks up the guy's gun who he just killed, blows him away too. And then the other guys that are still in the welding company, they were snorting coke, they were all like celebrating with the money they had. They tell Jesse, or Jesse tells them to get away, whatever, just go out of here. Like, if you tell the cops that I did, like, I have your driver's licenses, I will kill all of you, basically. That's pretty much what he says. And so they all leave and agree not to say anything to Jesse. And Jesse's about to leave, and then he realizes that he should probably, blow the welding company up to erase any evidence that he was there. And so another cool part of the movie, Jesse drives away as he blows up the welding company, which is a pretty cool part of the movie in my opinion. And then it's off screen, but he actually goes to Ed again to, what's it called? To get a new identity. Ed, the vacuum cleaner guy who gives people new identities. Yeah, he has the money, and he has more money than he needs now because he stole the other guy's third of the share from Todd's apartment. Because, it was a winner takes all kind of duel. Jesse obviously killed him, took his money. Yeah, plain and simple. And so this is the crazy part of the movie. Like, this is like, I mean, you can consider this a climax of the movie. It's a flashback to what I'm guessing is the beginning of season 2 after they like escape from Tuco. Jesse is walking down a hotel hallway, and then he knocks on the door of just like some random door, and then the person comes out of the hotel, and it's Walter freaking White. Like that, wow, like that part, I knew that there would be some references in the movie, and there were, but never have I been so like shocked to have wow, I can't even put down the words. Like, that was absolutely insane. I did not see that coming at all. And they were 100% right when they said that there was a certain cameo in this movie, like a certain actor coming out to the movie that was so secret they had to fly him on a private jet to Albuquerque to film the movie. And I was just thinking, oh, it could have been, Saul, it could have been Mike or whatever. But then Mike he already said he was going to be in the movie before, this reveal came out about this huge character that they had to fly in secrecy. And I had absolutely no idea it was going to be Walt. I didn't think that they had, I don't think they had the balls to touch on his story again. But he's still dead. He died in the finale. It was just a flashback to, I'm guessing, beginning of season 2, where it wasn't actually a scene from the show. It was something new that they created. And honestly, the scene was great with Walt and Jesse in the diner. One thing that I'm going to be a little nitpicky about, I think Bryan Cranston's bald cap was a little weird looking. I mean, I guess it had been a while since he put it on, and maybe, I don't know, his head got a little bigger because that thing looked really weird. And it kind of took me out of the scene just a little bit, but it didn't make it any less, golden of a scene. it was like they had a little funny exchange where Walt was basically telling Jesse to or encouraging him to go to college and get his GED, basically being kind of condescending to Jesse, to, like implying that he thinks that Jesse didn't graduate high school, which Jesse looks at him like, "Are you stupid? Like, you were on the stage with me, like when I got my diploma, like you were my high school teacher." And then Walt's like, yeah." It was just funny, like another like callback to the show, just a way that Walt was kind of condescending to Jesse, and it was kind of funny. But then it kind of took a more serious turn when Walt told him that, I forgot what he said. He said something specific that really kind of stood out in the scene. He said, he said, "You're really lucky that you're this young and you got to do something this special." And then that's the end of the Walt flashback. And then it cuts to Ed the vacuum guy and Jesse in Alaska, which is where Mike suggested that Jesse goes in the very beginning of the movie when they have like that flashback scene. Mike tells Jesse that if he were his age and he got to start over and he could have gone anywhere, he would have gone to Alaska. And then this really stuck with Jesse, so Jesse decided to actually go to Alaska with his new identity and start a new life there. And then he writes a letter to Brock so that Ed can give it to him. And Jesse drives away, and then right before the movie ends, he has a flashback of Jane before she died, before Walt let her die. And they basically have like it's not like a dream sequence, it's not a hallucination. It's an encounter that they actually had, but it wasn't actually shown in the show. It was just Jesse telling Jane how much he admires her, and that or not like her specifically, but like her way of thinking, that what's it called, like just letting the universe take you where it wants, or just going where the universe tells you to, basically something like that. And then the movie ends, and it was absolutely incredible. Like, it exceeded all my expectations. I kind of, my bad. Every time I go into a new movie or a new TV show, I kind of always go into it with low expectations. And I'm not necessarily pessimistic about it or negative, but I try not to get my hopes up too much whenever I try to watch something new, or even with the video games whenever I play something new. But with this one, I just had the highest expectations, because just the minds behind Breaking Bad, they did such a good show. Like, Breaking Bad is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the most critically acclaimed TV show, which is insane to think about. Literally, in a way, saying that it is the greatest TV show ever made, and that's something that I agree with personally. I mean, not everyone might think that way, and that's fine. But just like yeah, just everything kind of speaks for itself in a way. And Breaking Bad has such an amazing legacy, and then just like the influence that it had on pop culture and just all that was just immeasurable, in my opinion. Like, you really can't compare it to anything else. Maybe, I don't know, Mickey Mouse or something. Just seeing like just the legacy of Breaking Bad after it went off the air for a little bit, and then just thinking to ourselves that we're never gonna get another piece of media this good again. And then all of a sudden, 2 months ago, they dropped a trailer for this movie, and then my mind is blown again. I really can't even put into words how good this movie is, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that's a perfect movie. Obviously, there are some things about it that I found a little nitpicky, like, for example, Todd being a fat ass in the movie, and Walt's bald cap looking a little weird. But honestly, it didn't really take away from the scenes that much. And the things that I absolutely loved about the movie really undermined the things that I really didn't. And I'm kind of like a huge sucker for directors actually knowing what they're doing when they're making a project. And I feel like Vince Gilligan, the director of Breaking Bad, I feel like everything he touches couldn't be bad if he tried. And with example, obviously Breaking Bad, the show, the best TV show ever made, in my opinion. And then the prequel series, Better Call Saul, which I absolutely love too. I think it's almost up there with Breaking Bad. It's really entertaining show. If you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend it. And then he comes out with this movie. Wow, it's honestly, I can't even really say more than just, it's such an amazing movie. It's just a love letter to anybody who's ever watched Breaking Bad, or anybody who is kind of a fan of the show. It blew all of my expectations out of the water. And obviously, it's amazing, but it's not perfect. There's some things about it that I don't like, but there's really not much more to say other than it's just a fantastic movie. And it was definitely worth the 6-year long wait. And yeah, that's honestly pretty much I have to say about it. Great movie. Obviously, I hope that if you're watching this, you've seen it. And I mean, if you don't mind things being spoiled for you, I guess that's fine too. Thanks for watching the video anyway. But that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Just a fantastic movie, and yeah, I absolutely loved it.